Welcome to this episode of the TriPOD.
Yeah, that really is expertise that you just can't pick up out in the wild. You need to really be living this stuff every day.
With me, Kev, Matthew and Mark, as ever. Three musketeers.
Luke and John off today.
Well, you know at home I call you the disciples.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Well, yeah, but as you're saying it, are you like that?
Yeah. Of all the disciples.
My disciples.
Yeah. Matthew and Mark are like two of the key men, aren't they?
Yeah.
Top disciples. Well, someone pointed this out. You know, The Last Supper, the painting.
Yes.
Why are they all sitting on one side of the table?
Because it was better for the artist, wasn't it? Easier to get them all in.
How well, lads, get in.
Exactly. Bunch up. You've been to a wedding before. You've had your
Come on, Judas,
taken.
don't shy away. Come on, get in, son.
Yeah. Come on. Camera's this way. Face this way.
So in this podcast, we're going to be talking about the benefits of hiring a full-service video agency.
What an interesting topic.
It is, yeah. It's not going to be salesy at all, this.
A full-service agency such as your film.
Actually, yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, yeah.
I can't wait to hear what those services are.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be a real eye-opener for Mark.
We do what?
The team's how big?
So yeah, for this one, I suppose it's aimed at people who have already identified that video marketing is something that they're going to be doing as part of their marketing strategy coming up.
Because if they're not, they're only, 5% of the companies out there that aren't doing video?
I think it's
10%.
10%, yeah.
Very
even bigger.
Very
But
scientific
of that 10% though, most of those people were saying exactly that. We need to get into this video marketing malarkey. Or maybe that you're already doing video marketing but doing it in-house and you're kind of looking for a good partner. And what do you need to know about that? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I suppose the most obvious question is, what does a full-service video production agency do?
I'll take this one, Mark.
Thank you. Because I'm still learning.
Well, when we talk about being full service, I think it's a phrase that probably more clients would associate with an advertising agency. But as far as video goes, what we mean is we've always worked hard to have a team, an actual in-house team, not necessarily, I mean, we're going to talk about the support network of freelancers, but an in-house team who cover every discipline that's needed to make a successful video output, but also potentially video campaign. So it's always surprising to me how I would guess it's probably 1 in 5, which is still quite a high number, I think, of first-time clients who, for instance, assume that, oh, well, you make the video for me, but I'm going to have to write it first and possibly storyboard it as well, just to give an example. And if they're in, I don't know, steel fabrication, I just think, well, you wouldn't expect me to go, I'll just quickly knock something up as a prototype and then, you know what I mean, you work from that. So there is definitely instances where the client is the best person to write the first draft of a script, usually when it's something that's very technical or it's very specialist knowledge, and that is valuable. But that's a discussion to have up front, and that is always still going to be a collaboration, because no matter what they write, it's still going to be looked at by us from a professional point of view to kind of go, right, well, that's great, but it's now 200 words, can we boil it down to 100 words and be just as good? So for me, when I talk to people about us being a full service agency, what I mean is, and I do say this to people in sales meetings, is like, you can come to us from the point of saying, I need a video that'll do this, sell this product, explain this service. That is as far as you need to have gone to start engaging with us. If you want to come to us and say, there's a script, there's a storyboard, there's, you know, examples we've seen, that's fine. We can slot in at any point. But when I talk about full service, I mean, we will take people right from the start all the way through the development process, production process, output, and obviously increasingly these days work with them on the rollout as well and actually getting the results from it.
So what if the start is, well, our biggest competitor's made a video, or the start is we just need to increase sales this year.
Fine, perfect way to start. You know, people sometimes don't know what they like. They always know what they hate, and certainly they know what they've seen that they're. I'm going to use the term jealous. I mean, professionally jealous. You know, they see a competitor doing something, they go, "Yeah, we should have our version of that." That's a perfectly legitimate starting point, and that's, you know, basically pick up the phone, drop us an email, and say, "This is what we need to do. Can we have a talk?" Because that's where we'll start, and we'll go through our process, which is the same regardless of what the intention is. With asking the basic questions of who you're trying to speak to, where do they live, by which usually what we mean is which sites are they engaging with, where they're going to see the video, what's important to them. You know, that's all just part of the process.
Yeah. Well, I've said it probably 100 times now, probably on the podcast as well. Like for me, that initial communication is arguably the most critical point, because our job then is to really listen to understand, and dig deeper down into what are the problems and issues that you're trying to resolve with video marketing. And also, like, if they do say, well, this is the idea we've got, or this is the script, or this is the storyboard, or whatever, and we just don't think it's going to work for them, it's our job to challenge that as well and say, you that's a mistake, you're going to go down the wrong path, and kind of use our expertise to advise on what we think would be a better route forward from there. Anything to add to that, Mark?
No. No, I was just thinking of like no, but yes. So I've got an idea, or I haven't even got an idea.
Ring the bell. He's had one. Ring the bell.
I can come to your phone. So I'll just go now. I'm just trying to put it from like someone watching this podcast, that we deal with clients that will go to an agency and specialise in a brand, and then they'll go to another agency and they'll do a concept, and then they'll come to a company like us to do the video. What we're saying is there's 2 stages there what you don't have to do. You can literally come to us as a one-stop shop, full video service production agency. You can come to us at that very beginning stage. You don't have to leapfrog between different companies to eventually get your video done. And I know I'm kind of cutting to the chase here, but even like from the actually getting that video, not just a video but a TVC, like actually getting that onto TV. I know this will filter down, but that's like in a nutshell what we can do, isn't it? We can handle it all in-house. You don't have to deal with multiple people at multiple companies to get your idea on a screen.
Well, yeah, in simple terms, obviously clients of a certain size and tradition, I suppose, let's say, will go down the route that you're talking about, whether they have one agency that does the concept and the initial creative for them, or they have different agencies that do it. But, you know, they're the oil tanker clients. They're the ones that take an age to turn around because they've got a brand direction, a corporate direction that everyone's, you know, working towards. It's been agreed as a probably multi-year strategy with these agencies, and, you know, everything that filters out of it or comes out of it is kind of in service to that, and that's fine. As we've frequently said, that's no problem. If someone comes along to us after going through that process and says, there's the thing, I just want you to go make it for me, we'll do that. Because effectively what we're talking about is a three-part process, aren't we? We're talking about the pre-production, by which we don't just mean the actual pre-production, what we're going to make, but the thinking, the working out, the advice, all that kind of stuff. Then the production, and then the rollout, which sometimes is just going, there's a video, off you go. In other cases it's going, we've advised them to put it on these platforms or on these channels, and, you know, manage all that. So there's 3 elements to it.
Yeah.
We offer all of that, but yeah, certainly I would still say, certainly historically, the majority of our clients were working with people who are at that early, and it's a weird one because there's big gaps, which sort of contradict each other but make perfect sense. Where someone might come in and say, I need a video that is going to sell my store, you know, furniture store for the sake of argument. but I don't know how to make it. But then they'll also assume when you're filming it, as an example, that like, oh, but yeah, like after the fact, you can just take that bit out in the background because like everyone knows enough as to what the tools are that everything is easy, but they don't know how to do it themselves. So it's that weird kind of gap where they know what they want, they don't know how to do it, and that's fine because we do because we've spent 20 years each doing it.
So just to sum that part up, then, a full service video agency has the capabilities to do everything before the pre-production. So in terms of the idea concept generation, like look at the problems that you're trying to solve before we kind of get into that. The pre-production itself, so obviously stuff like scripting and storyboarding, planning. The production itself, so if it's animation, people in-house to do that. It's filming, the ability to put a crew together and do all the filming. The post-production, editing, obviously, and delivery. So whether that's to the internet platforms or to the channel hubs if it's going to be broadcast.
The only bit I would say that wasn't fully covered in there is in the pre-production and the creative development, strategic insight and advice is also part of what we do, because the two have to go hand in hand. It's like, well, this is your audience, this is a message you want to get, but your audience, for the sake of argument, is only on TikTok. Therefore, it needs to be video that's shot in a certain way, run a certain length, have certain triggers in it. So, like, there is, even if we're not involved in the placement of that then on TikTok, we're still given the strategic advice as well.
Yeah. Okay, and obviously that you can go through that entire process, or we can plug in at any point if you've already got other agencies involved in that initial point.
I think the whole purpose of this podcast is to make the audience realise that actually your film can provide these services. We maybe didn't think of a company like that before. We've only seen maybe the output, or they just did the editing. But I suppose we've had that maybe with our own clients as well. There's one big client that we've got, and I believe that we've gone from simply just creating the things that they ask for. They're now coming to us to design and think of the next concept, how it's going to move them forward, something that they were, correct me if I'm wrong, but you'll know it's for like the cabinets and everything, that they were using 1-2 different kind of other companies to help them get the ideas, think of like how they were going to move forward. So really, they might have come to us initially just to edit something.
Well, it's interesting on that specific point. They were working with another agency on a totally different discipline, but that other agency had a small, 2 or 3 man in-house team that did some video and animation, and for various reasons they asked them to do the first pass on what we now do, and it was okay, but literally you could look at it and you could see the limitations of it. And then we did our first one and they held them side by side and went, okay, you can now do the rest. Which is an example of what we're talking about, isn't it? Nothing against the other company.
No.
It's just they had, they had seen a need on their client base and created a little resource to potentially service that, but it's by its nature that was limited.
And I think that's the limitations of maybe an in-house team over what your film can provide, because unless it's a massive organisation, their in-house team is going to be smaller than our full team, and therefore the experience may be limited, the skill set limited, the time that they've got in-house to produce what they need to produce is also limited, whereas with this full design video production agency that like us, that's there isn't a limitation as such like that. There's more time, there's more hands, there's more experience, there's not the worry of like someone going on holiday internally and then kind of, we're not going to get what we needed internally produced for X deadline.
Well, one of the best compliments I've ever got in business is
when your film delivered a quietly efficient service.
No, that one just kind of that just went under the radar.
Published review of that.
Yeah, it's free index, is it? Yeah. Well, I wasn't very chatty back in those days.
Is it for your voiceover work?
No, it was when an ongoing client said that the way they view us is just as an extension of their in-house marketing team, because we're integral to also pushing them forward, not waiting for briefs necessarily to suggest ideas and different techniques and ways to market their business.
Actually, I've just realised I'd like to just jump in there. We're dealing with a client at the moment, and their competitors are producing stuff, and we've kind of done like a little bit of a demo. And the feedback that we got yesterday from showing them this demo that we've put together is, the client's comment was, that is superior in every aspect over our competitors. So we must know what we're doing.
Yeah. Superior.
Is that the subtitle of this episode?
Yeah.
Honest, we know what we're doing.
Yeah, honest Gav. So it's like comments like that, you know.
Well, I mean, it's a possibly a strange analogy, but I was just thinking there about, like, not many people do walk around with DSLR cameras anymore because everyone has a good phone in their pocket. But, like, if you're going to a wedding, you might take, if you've got a DSLR, a nice camera to go and take some photographs.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, the difference between what you're doing and what the official photographer's doing and what kit they've got, it's not just about, yeah, you might be able at the end of the day see one of their images and one of your images and go, well, there's two nice photographs. But, you know, like, the pressure that's on them, the expertise that they've got from doing 1,000 weddings before that to know where they need to be, how they need to be, how they're going to coax people who don't want to be in the image, what makes a good image, what doesn't work, all that stuff. So yes, you could go there and you could take a photograph, they could take a photograph, you put them together and frame them on the wall, they both look lovely, but inherently you are limited because you're not living and breathing it every day, and kind of it's not just about the equipment, it's about, like, the rhythms of a project, if you know what I mean, and being able to anticipate problems and all that kind of stuff, isn't it? Which is the first of the bullet points here in a nutshell, which is like professional expertise. That's what got me thinking about it, just a way to sort of give an example of that.
Well, yeah, I believe we've got another podcast entitled something around beginning at the end. So it's to do with thinking about what your end goal is.
Start at the end.
Start at the end. I was close. It was closer than I thought it was going to be.
Closer than I would be.
So that's obviously that's thinking about what results do you want to get out of your video marketing, but also where's it going to end up? Because absolutely, so we're kind of moving a bit into the advantages of working with a full service agency here. It's things again like we've talked about this a couple of times. If it's something for broadcast, it is saving so much pain by knowing the rules around advertising in the UK to begin with.
Well, of course.
What is just not going to be allowed to go on there, and fixing that where it belongs, which is in the pre-production phase, and not getting wrapped on your filming and being in the edit and then sending it to Clearcast and they say you've got no chance in hell that you can say that or do that.
Well, we've had that. I mean, I'm sure we've talked about this before, but we've had instances where we've been brought into a process at a point where a creative agency has worked through 5 iterations of a storyboard at no doubt a couple of grand a pop.
Yeah.
And then it's presented to us and we go, well, that looks lovely, but it's never going to get on TV because you don't know about X, Y, and Z. Or there's another example I thought they'll come back to us. Of being given TV adverts and inverted commas that have been created by in-house teams who are sitting and making web videos all day, every day that absolutely do the job, and then they put it into what they think is the right format for TV. And the thing that an example of a thing that they can't know is legal read time of on-screen text and how that impacts your edit.
Is this related to golfing products by any chance?
It might be. Yeah.
Yes. Quite the headache, that. But hey, we dealt with it.
Yeah, but I mean, in that particular instance, we were presented with effectively what they were saying was a rough cut for us to tidy up. But really, it was, if we turned around and said, "Oh, lads, that's great, you can put it on TV," they all would have been very pleased. But there was literally too many products in it. Mm-hmm. What they wanted to do strategically wasn't achievable, and they didn't find out until the absolute last minute when they then tried to engage with us. because there literally was not enough read time for the text that was putting the prices up, which is all this stuff that we know because we live and breathe it every day. We wouldn't expect an in-house team to know who aren't doing it. If they're making TV ads every day, that's different, but they're not. So it's just another example, really.
So are we talking about the advantages here of working with a full-service video production company? I see we've got many a bullet point here to sell ourselves. So, go on, Matthew.
I'm busy working my way through it, mate. You not noticed? I'm on point 3 now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, I dozed off for a second there.
Is that 8-second attention span? Well, let's actually look. I mean, we've talked about professional expertise, but let's go through some of the bullet points. We don't have to literally read out what's on the page. But the first one is advanced equipment. So we are constantly, not necessarily in big ways, not like we're going out and buying a new camera every week, but we're constantly updating what we've got. We're constantly making sure that we've got all the little bits of equipment, all the bits of things that typically you don't know you need them until you show up to do a job and think, I wish I had this, and then you get it for the next time, which, in our position is something that makes sense to then invest in for the next time. But if and I think we are largely here probably talking about in-house teams or in-house resource, not even teams, but just quite often, particularly a smaller client will have someone who knows a bit of video or who can fly a drone or whatever. We're not going to talk about that re-edit of that TV advert, are we? That was done in Windows Movie Maker.
No.
Okay, fair enough. The point being that we are obviously naturally, literally invested and committed to updating our tools all the time and having, up-to-date stuff which helps us, delivers a better result for the client. There's so many times that I'll send a client a video from even just, say, 7 or 8 years ago, and I'll put a little note on it saying, this is, in terms of content, what you're after, but please excuse the technical quality because cameras have moved on so much. And it looked great at the time. It just doesn't, things keep evolving. So we're doing that because that's our profession. Whereas I don't think, in very simple terms, if you're part of an in-house team, presumably you have to go and requisition budget every time you might want to try a new tool or, sign up to a new service or whatever it might be.
Yeah,
I've certainly seen inside a team what I was going to say about the equipment not being up to spec, but they've gone and they've purchased the latest computer, the latest camera, all the software for a new in-house team that's going to run it, and it's sat gathered dust because the people
all the gear, no idea.
Well, yeah, pretty much. They've got it all, but then they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to use it.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it takes years of using it, understanding it, getting good at it. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what we've got in kit in-house, like you've said, if we're going to be doing a big TV production, we'll be hiring in a lot of kit because if you're always chasing the next camera, you're just going to spend a fortune every year and just kind of waste money. So it's more cost effective for us and clients to hire in stuff for bigger productions.
But also, no two jobs are the same. You need
that's right.
different things.
If it's a small to mid-level production, the chances are nearly all the kit that we'd need we've got in-house. We can pack it up and we're gone, and we can get the job done with that. What about time efficiency then? On the list, not having to go between 2 or 3 different agencies for different parts to the actual production process.
Well, there's 2 parts of it, yeah, isn't there? There's the management of the agency, but there's also, if it is an in-house resource, so it's impossible to say how much time is saved, but I know a lot of time is saved in our team by someone being stuck on something and turning to the person next to them and saying, how do you do this? And with the best will in the world, if you've got a very limited in-house resource or small team, the chance to do that might be, it might just be reduced, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we've had an example of this where certain aspects of the video that we were editing together were provided by another agency. So although we've got 3D capabilities in-house, another agency was using, I think, a freelancer to produce the 3D aspects. When the final video was presented to the client, it wasn't until it was then due to go live that the client realised there was something wrong with the 3D, because that had been done by somebody else. We weren't privy to what was right or wrong with it. We was just using that video. So then they had to contact, or we contacted the agency to let them know we needed 3D recreating and we needed it ASAP. Days went past before, we got a response, and then a couple more days till they chased down the freelancer to get that. Quite easily that person could have been on holiday, and that video that needed to go out might still be sat waiting to be finished because it was an external factor. So just having it under one roof, if you like, just saves an example of that happening. It saves on time, efficiency.
Well, and another element of this is it actually bleeds into the next bullet point, which is creative input. Again, it's very hard to quantify because it's just what we do, but we are saving people time from minute one by steering them away from bad ideas and giving them good ideas. We're not wasting time developing things that aren't going to work, which, just using the examples we used before, happens a lot. Particularly bigger clients are in the habit of wasting money on trying things out that someone later down the line will tell them, well, that's never going to work. And, in that culture and that context, it's probably not a big deal. It's all budgeted for and accounted for, fair enough. But it is wasted time. And it's wasted time that's directly tied to going down the wrong creative path. So going back to what we said before about, starting with, I need something that's going to achieve this result. From that second, we're thinking about, well, what's the best creative solution? And then you get into the practicalities of, well, we could do it this way or that way. That would be a bit cheaper. That would be, a bit more time efficient, whatever. But the two are combined, I think.
Consistency and quality is probably one that leaps out to me. And again, they're all kind of tied in. But we have very high standards. And because everyone in the team, they'll all naturally have high standards for themselves, but they know that everything that we're producing needs to hit those markers and always push for that extra few percent points in terms of the production value of the whole thing. And obviously with it all just being in-house, that is controlled. You're not waiting for someone else to give you something, and you're not compromising because you think, well, for us to get that changed, we're going to have to relay that back, and then we don't know how long it's going to take, and
which is weird,
just lose control of that.
This is very natural to us, but if I think back to some of the client reviews we've had the last couple of years, they're not spelling this out, but the sort of, there's been a few where I'd say the underlying notion was like they were pleasantly surprised that what we said up front would make is what we made. Therefore, logically, they're used to it not being the case. This is what we think we're going to get, and then what we get is a compromised version of what we thought we were going to get. Now, obviously, plans change, things change, but we're never kind of surprising the client with any of that stuff. We're being, if things change during the process, which obviously we're trying not to have that happen, but if it does happen, it's usually driven by the client because their priorities have changed. But when I think about a lot of the reviews we've had on Clutch, the kind of unspoken thread there is, they said they would do a thing, and then that's what I got.
Well, there you go.
I was just thinking back to a show that I went to in Manchester the other week, and he owned the stage. I was a bit worried. No one had heard of him. Thought I was going to be the only one there listening to the music. Everyone was like, had come there for different reasons, found his music and stuff, and got towards the end. Everyone thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, just thought it was going to be like maybe me by myself enjoying this music, nobody else there, but it was the audience there was great.
If it was just you, would you have just stood there with a lighter just...
exceptional. And someone, like, there was a few things called out, and someone said that The music was brilliant. It was the best gig I've been to. And the guy went, he's pretty good, isn't he? Like everyone just erupted in. It was that type of thing. It was kind of like this type of thing. It's like, oh, we've got this service that we've come to this show, and it's like, fuck me, what a gig, what a delivery, what a service that we've got, like above and beyond like the expectations. So it's like, so that's that type of review.
Well, yeah,
like
if it's
expecting more, they got more than what's expected.
If you've spoken to Matthew at the start of the process and he's looked in the eye and said, this is what we're going to do for you, and that's when we're going to deliver it.
I've looked in the eye and says, this is what Kevin and Mark are going to do for you.
Then he does a runner and it's me and you, yeah. We're really sorry. But yeah, you can look at Matthew in the end and say, you know, I'm surprised, which is apparently what the reviews say. I was surprised you weren't lying. But there you go, you've delivered.
No one's actually saying they're surprised. I just think that there's been comments that would indicate to me that they've been let down before. They've had the rug pulled from underneath them before.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's obviously... stress reduction is another point there. That really you only need to speak to one person. I know that's quite important to people, as I've just kind of hinted at there. The person that you've spoken to at the start is the person that you can speak to all the way through if you want, and they know what was promised. Everyone's clear on what the objectives are, and you don't need to worry that it's getting handed off and the message is getting watered down, and you're going to end up with something that's not really close to what you were expecting.
There's a very practical part of this as well, in it, which is probably more prevalent on TV ad productions and stuff like that, but people have no idea of what goes into making something. So many times, which is fine, they don't need to, but so many clients will show up on set of a TV advert where we've spent the first 3 hours of the day setting up just to get the first shot, and there's vans and 10 people there and equipment and stuff, and they just, because they don't need to know, so it's fine, but they just don't know what goes into it, and we know the stress that does go into it, so we'll take that on because they don't have to.
Yeah, well, I think one of the TV commercial shoots recently, someone said, how does it feel after all this work? It's all just under 30 seconds at the end of it. And I said, it's fine. That's fine. That's what we do. It's all good. We see it on the screen, and yeah, we're proud of it. We're happy with it. Marketing expertise, I think we've already touched on that. I think that's probably enough advantages, isn't it?
I think, yeah, definitely. So are we going to steam right into why choose your filming?
I think we've been doing that for the last half hour, haven't we?
Have we really? We've been listing out good points, but
if you've been listening, we have, yeah.
I would say seconds, that's my limit.
I would say that what I was saying at the start, which is true about conversations I have, particularly with first-time clients, we have, when we first started, when it was literally me and Kev, neither of us could animate, so we didn't offer animation. So if an animation job came in, we gave it to someone else. We partnered with people, or farmed it out. And then there was a few things happened, sort of business-wise, that lined up where we could get into animation at quite a simplistic level, which obviously was good. So we did that, and then quite quickly from there realised that if we were to bring in more people that had actual animation experience, and instead of us just trying to kind of feel our way through, then there was obviously good business case for that. So, and that was 10 plus years ago that we made that switch. So since that point, we've always made it a point to have the full range of production expertise in-house. Now, that's not to say that we don't bring in extra people to help out as needs be. But first of all, quite often if we bring in extra people, we literally bring them in to us to work in the team. We're not, subcontracting stuff out. And then obviously when it comes to bigger production days and stuff like that, as anyone else would do, you're crewing up. So you're bringing in the extra kit and people that you need, which is fine. But the consistency that we offer of as Kev was sort of saying before, the people that you speak to at the start of the process are the people that might not these days guide you through the full thing, but will always be there if you need them. And it is if this is the correct use of the term, a holistic approach in that it is all being conceptualized, produced, animated. Even if it's not fully, even if we're bringing in a little bit of extra help, it's all being effectively done in-house. And that's why I always tell people it's us versus someone else, is because there'll be other people who will tell you that they'll do it all. But in fact, the example you were talking about before is an example where we actually flagged right at the start that the bottleneck of time was going to be the thing that turned out to be the bottleneck of time. And what we talked about was what would be ideal is if we get a certain kind of output that we could then manipulate a little bit, just a little bit, time-wise in post-production. Because if we didn't, then we're going to have to keep going back and saying, can you, for the sake of argument, can you re-export that, but can you make it 3 frames longer? All that kind of stuff, which just slows things down. So that's why I think, that's not just why I think, it's why I tell people that they'll be safe with us, is because we have maintained that core team that can literally do it all.
Well, that was a beautiful conclusion.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
I think we
Can I
should
hear your stomach?
I don't think it's Matt's
I
stomach. I think it's the knickknacks going through Matthew.
Someone's stomach is going crazy. Someone needs a snack. I think it's you, Mark.
You
just don't feel it anymore.
Just don't feel it anymore.
You're just always hungry anyway.
These little guts of his have been broke 1,000 times.
How many podcasts do we have to end by talking about my guts?
Every time they make an appearance on mic.
So thank you for joining us for this podcast. Hope you got something useful out of it. If you have, please like the video.
Yes.
And subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot and shows that somebody cares.
I think we should have at the end of this some slides with some quotes, some testimonials from clients saying how good we are.
The only thing,
not just you saying how good we are.
People like and subscribe, and that's all fine. Just send an email to Matthew@your.film and just say, Matthew, I need a video, and we'll take it from there.
How are you spelling Matthew?
They can spell it any way they want, Mark. 1 T or 2, it'll get to me. Trust me.
That's all you need to do.
Professionalism, right there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.